Well, do you see? I mean, I would assume that you also see you take what you do seriously in terms of your platform. Like, I mean, like like maybe like the social responsibility of an artist, or
Yeah, I think we've always looked at the music as speaking it for itself for the most part,
yeah,
and, and even the songs that are lyrically meant to stimulate some sort of thought or controversy, that's all hidden beneath the surface.
yeah,
And if someone chooses to go there, great. But if they only enjoy the music from an overall listening experience, then that's cool too.
yeah. Well, it's the idea that instead of hitting things on the nose by vocally asserting something on stage, you're letting the art speak for itself and create the dialogue.
Yeah, and we none of us have ever been too much about talking on stage.
Yeah,
In general, I say as little as possible on stage, other than what I'm singing.
yeah. What has been surprising you the most about your work with the symphony and going through the songs of Mule and the Dead and the Allman Brothers, and what are you discovering about those songs as you've gotten older and have put them through different areas, like now through a symphony?
Um, I think all great music has a way of opening itself to interpretation that, in some cases, no one would have thought of,
Yeah,
but the person reinterpreting, and that is normally the sign of a great song. And in each of these cases, when I look at the Allman Brothers catalog and the Dead catalog and some of the covers that I've chosen, and hopefully my songs open themselves up to interpretation in a similar way. But speaking for the ones that I interpret, it's sometimes when you step away from something, you get a whole new perspective of it, and you can open yourself to ideas and interpretations that you might not have thought of when you were too close to it.
yeah, yeah. Agreed.
That's why it's always good to hear other people's take on anything, because it's always going to be different than what I would think of.
Yeah. Well, Mule turns 25 this year. What do you think about that number when you apply it to, the road to this point and all the things that the band's achieved to this milestone?
Well, for a band that never had any expectations of doing even a second album, much less a 10th album, it's pretty amazing when I look back at not only how far we have come, but how we got here.
Yeah.
It was organic. There were a lot of challenges, some that we even looked at as being insurmountable. But I think the fact that we always took one step at a time and never really knew what was going to happen until it was upon us.
Yeah.
I think that speaks to the fact that we're still around and still proud of where we are and how it relates to the beginning of Government Mule, because it's been quite a journey, and the band's gone through a lot of changes and adapting, but the spirit that we started with is still completely intact, and all the new directions that we have grown in and continue to grow into are ones that we're very proud of and that were in some ways inevitable.
Yeah. What are you you know, you've been playing guitar pretty much your whole life, but what are you learning about the guitar these days that may be surprising you, or just new avenues that you're walking down with it?
You know, I always learn the most when I'm forced into a situation that is completely different from what I'm used to. Anytime you get out of your comfort zone, you always wind up discovering some new doors that you can open.
Yeah.
And for me right now, I'm kind of going back into a phase where I'm thinking about a lot of instrumental music and writing some instrumental music and exploring the jazz roots
Yeah.
a little bit. But I'm also kind of re-traveling down this whole kind of country soul, kind of Muscle Shoalsy sort of path that's been in and out of my life from the very beginning. You know, I've been writing a lot of songs that that kind of or somewhere between my first solo record, not my first one, the second one, Man in Motion, and Ashes and Dust. I've been writing a lot of stuff that's kind of in between those two, and so the guitar is influencing the songs, but the songs are influencing my guitar playing, and I'm curious to see where it's all going to wind up, because I feel like in the world of Government Mule, we're going to probably concentrate a lot on the instrumental side of what we've through the years. And so that's kind of pushing me into a different place too. But it's just great I feel so fortunate to have so many great musicians as friends that I can kind of bounce off of and be influenced by.
Well, it's one of those things too. They say as you get older, you tend to circle back to the music of your youth.
Yeah, and you know, I've been influenced by so much music, so many different types of music, that I kind of go through phases where, you know, I'm in the singer-songwriter phase for a while, then I'm in a blues phase for a while, then a jazzy phase for a while. But it's there's always something to choose from and to learn from. There's never shortage. So I wind up revisiting some of the stuff that influenced me when I'm starting out, but when I was starting out, so trying to discover some stuff that I missed, way, and be influenced by that, you know.
Yeah. Well, my final question is, you know, you've had a life traveling the world and creating and performing music and meeting people from all walks of life. What does that touch about what it means to be a human being?
Well, we're so fortunate that we've all been able to travel, not just across America, but all over the world, and meet so many different people and kind of touch on so many different cultures and get an up-close view of all the different ways that people live their lives, and get a little glimpse of these different microcosms that exist everywhere you go. I've always felt like for anybody, if you grow up in a big city, it's good to spend some time in a small town. If you grow up in a small town, it's good to spend some time in a big city. And any time you get to experience the opposite of where you're from, it can be very enlightening, and it can also make you appreciate what you had to start with. But for us, we're lucky that we get glimpses of all these different things, and the one thing that they all have in common is a love of music.
Yeah. And
music pulls people together from, you know, it's cliche to say all walks of life, but it's true. You know, we bands that in some ways are totally opposites, but what they have in common is the way they value music and you know, how important music is in their life.
Well, Warren, it's always a pleasure to chat with you.
Good to talk to you, man. Hope you're doing good.
Yeah, I look forward to the show next week, and safe travels.